Hi, Rod.
Howdy.
I will move down one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're on. So, welcome everybody to November 17th, Waste Management Committee. We'll start the meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if I could ask for just a moment of silence for those who protect us and for those who have lost their lives recently in France. Thank you. Tonight, Wayne Bevilacqua is on my cell phone, and he's participating remotely from sunny Florida, Wayne?
From sunny Florida.
That's not fair.
It's only 75 here. I'm on a cool streak.
All right. No public comment. We'll go with that. I need a motion to approve the minutes from October 26th.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, Wayne.
Okay, and Glenn,
I abstain.
right.
Yeah. All right. So first up on the agenda, I don't know if this is Catherine or Rod, the placement of the cameras. Have we looked any further into that and the cost? Did we do any better?
Well, I did speak to the IT director, and I can't speak in his language, but essentially he said you get what you pay for, and that this is important for the purposes of doing it right, and maybe you want to elaborate.
So we did meet with our vendor for the security cameras that we have throughout the town this past Friday. So he met on site with someone from IT, and they will be forwarding a proposal. We did eliminate the cameras that was specifically for license plate recognition, which was a big ticket item. So it'll be conventional cameras. We're still looking at 3, 2 exterior, 1 interior. So we'll hopefully get a proposal in the next couple of weeks.
A better price. Okay. So hopefully by that time we'll be through our job here and we'll leave it in the hands of.
Heading to the board.
Right.
Selectmen.
Right, exactly right. All right, it's out of the way. And submission of,
If I could ask a question, where would the locations outside be?
They're all at the gatehouse,
At the gatehouse?
yes.
And then one inside the gate?
One
Or one
inside the
up at-
gatehouse.
Or at the transfer station building?
We eliminated any at the transfer station building, just because of the costs associated with putting the cameras in the building itself. So we'll have 2 exterior at the gate and 1 inside at the gate.
What about the exit? Just something to think about.
It was not going to be considered for the purposes of trying to pare down the cost. The important thing was, or the emphasis was, having one where the money is exchanged, or where the money may be, and then secondly, where the cars are driving by the attendant.
Well, if it's where Rodney's talking about, you're gonna see people exiting. If it's gonna be on that end of the gatehouse, because he pulls people over behind the
Right.
gatehouse actually, and does the transaction there, you're gonna see people exiting by with the same camera, so.
And I don't know how wide the lens angle might be, but I am satisfied that people that are coming in are going to be on that camera, and then, of course, for our own internal auditing purposes, we're gonna have that check and balance there, if the proposal were to go forward.
The only thing I'm disappointed, I really thought although if it's cost prohibitive, so it is, but inside the shed, the transfer station, the roll-off would be the best location to catch, or to watch somebody really
I get your
abusing the
point.
system.
I get your point.
Cost prohibitive.
Well, it did certainly add a significant amount, primarily because the IT director said that essentially it was a dump condition to deal with, pardon the pun.
Between the dust and the dirt and,
I think because of the length of where they had to run the wiring,
Right, so to avoid having the cost of having two servers at each building, we'd have to run conduit, from the gatehouse up to the trash building itself. The trash building is unconditioned, it's basically a metal building. So there was concerns with, the cameras just being mounted on the inside of the ceiling and, what they potentially would be exposed to, both temperatures and just the general activities.
Part of that run, you're not gonna be able to dig down because it's
It's
cap landfill.
exactly, it would all be above,
Right.
have to be above ground.
And it's-
Well, I think at this point, Tom, I agree with you, Tom, I'm a little bit disappointed we can't get it in there. But for the reasons of being cost-effective or whatever like that, I think right now, if we go with what we've got, and if we see a lot of violation, or we want to get, maybe that might be something we could do down the road, or as part of another, you know what I mean?
there's always the
No.
potential of adding a
Adding that
component.
on or whatever, so.
But for the purposes of taking some, I don't want to say baby steps here, but some initial steps, I think this is a move in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think we're all on the boat on this. It was just more of a deterrent. To people, if they see a camera, they'll probably think twice about, what they're doing and comply with what the rules and regulations are. So, there may be a camera in the shed before you know it anyway. So, any input from you, Wayne?
Well, like I told you before, I pay, and now I have two systems, one in Florida and one on Cape Cod. I can look at my house right now. I have 4 cameras out there. I paid $400, and it can be recorded on a DVR, which it is, for up to 30 days. So I think that what Rodney was saying, if within 30-day period, if somebody had a complaint or something, I think that'd be phenomenal. And it's dirt money, it's cheap. That's all I have to say.
All right, are they wireless or hardwired?
Mine are hardwired, but
Okay.
you can get the wireless ones. They're a little bit more expensive. They're right around $1,200 for those.
Oh, okay, well, a little bit, something to consider anyway in the future. All right, thank you.
Plus it would be hard inside that metal building.
Oh, that's right,
Get the reception through the metal building.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, good point, yeah.
I think that was one of the
That would
points that
have to
David
be-
brought up.
Yeah, good point.
That was definitely have to be the hardwired one.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Oh, well. All right, number 5, moving right along. Submissions, individual committee members who have any suggestions or recommendations, if any, so that we can make the recommendations to the selectmen, hopefully, before the end of this year. I'd like to do this in December. If we can close it out tonight, I don't know that we can, but if we could, I'd be fine with that. But if we do one more meeting, so any recommendations? Did anybody sketch anything down? I have
Do you
anything?
want, you want something written down to hand out to everybody, or can we do it verbally?
You can verbally, and if you could just put it in writing for, for submission, and I'll bring it to the board. Well, I could just have it reprinted and put it, all of everybody's ideas on one sheet, and have that brought to the selectmen's meeting. So. Anyone?
Well,
Doesn't matter to me.
I know I brought it up, and I know John Cahalan didn't seem like he was not for it or whatever. But I think one of the things this town should do is take a serious look at doing a low-income sticker.
We are.
You know, sticker prices are going up and everything else, and I know I brought that up. And where I worked previously, we had it, and it was quite rewarding when you have somebody walk in and shaking your hand saying, "Thank you very much, I can now afford to go out and buy food for the next 2 to 3 weeks."
We worked on this week.
Because he had it was,
I should have brought it up.
because it got approved.
Yeah, through, Debbie Damey did some homework on this, and Barnstable has that system. So she took the information from Barnstable so that we could use that here, and it was income-based. And it would just be something that when they come in, they could apply for it at the clerk's office, and the adjustment will be made there. So it is something that, it's an idea that will be brought forward. So everybody on board with something like that, an income-adjusted sticker for those in financial need?
Is it just based on income, or would it be based on any other criteria? My only question is, if you're living in $1 million home, and you're retired and you're not making any income, but you've got plenty to live on,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, I think there's
One of the things that you have to turn on as far as proof of income is your taxes. There's a copy of your whatever it is, you know, your taxes or whatever like that. Because in Boston, we had a lot of people, trust me, they're sitting out there with a brand-new Lexus sitting out there, and they're coming in saying, "I only get Social Security. We want a copy of your taxes." You don't have to, I'm not gonna give that to you, that's against the law. We go downtown, they went downtown, they yelled and screamed, and next thing you know, they're bringing their taxes in, and now we see all their income.
Yeah, and that's
You
all
know,
I'm
when the
saying.
person's making, you know, $750,000 a year, and she wants a low-income sticker. And they live in Hyannisport with a Lexus.
Can we base it on, what they pay what they're paying for taxes on their property?
I think it's just a lot simpler if you just do it on income base.
I think, you know, the school system has income-based pricing, like for lunch, free lunches and stuff like that. That's the people that you're trying to help.
Correct. Elderly
So
and
it'll
low-income
be
families, absolutely.
Probably based more on, that's the model.
Right. I think that is what
Because-
Barnstable uses,
Right, 'cause
similar.
and one of the things too is that some places use 125%, 150%, you know, as far as on what they base on the income, you know. And one of the key things is who is going to, you know, approve it. That needs to be, you know, this is going down the road. If this, you know, if everybody agrees upon it or whatever like that, that's something that needs to be dealt with probably legally and everything else like that, is saying, okay, who's the point person that's gonna be, okay, all these forms comes into, if it's gonna be you, Rodney, or whoever it's gonna be, say, yes, I approve it, no, I don't. You know what I mean? It's 'cause, you know, there's a lot of, all those logistics need to be ironed out, but I mean, that's something that I'm sure, like anything that gets approved like that is gonna be overseen by legal and say, how do we do it right? You know, so.
Yeah.
And
But-
what would the discount be potentially?
We didn't talk about it, we didn't discuss it any further, we just, you know, Deborah and I had talked about it, and how do we make this happen? She pulled the Barnstable, their format, and, we had no discussion any further than that. Maybe
See, when I
something
was-
similar,
When I was there, stickers were 120, and I believe we went up to 130 before I left. And the low income always stayed at 70. So,
Do we know how many, just to get an idea, how many in Barnstable do receive the low income? Just because that does affect
It was
the sticker price
just
for
a-
everyone
Right.
else.
it was just maybe, I'm trying to remember, I believe it was like about 140. out of over 7,000 stickers that we sell. So,
Pretty low percentage then. I don't know how you base it, but it's something that, and all I said to Deb was, it was Deb that reminded me of this, because we had talked about it in the past. And I said, absolutely, I have no problem with that, but I agree with Catherine that, if you have a lot of people coming looking for assistance, eventually, the sticker players are picking up the tab.
right.
It has to be divided.
I mean, I think overall, our sticker price is relatively low compared to most other towns on the Cape. So I don't know, and I guess that's the question is, what is reasonable for even a low-income family to pay for annual trash disposal?
And I agree,
is
we are.
$2 a week.
Right, if we went to a pay-as-you-throw situation, then all of a sudden, now you're gonna have a real need for this program. But right now, where we sit, I think we're at, roughly $2.30 a week. And it's not pretty reasonable price to pay for unlimited rubbish, and it seems to be working, so,
And then, I guess my only other comment, and sorry
yeah,
to.
right, it is,
would be-
it is very reasonable.
Yeah, would be just to make sure that we somehow have some education for those families on recycling. Just to make sure that they're not, taking advantage of and just, throwing everything out.
Right.
Because it doesn't cost them, anywhere near what it costs everyone else.
You're right. Speaking of the sticker prices, as it eventually goes up and it climbs up, it has to go up, everything, cost of living just goes up. Do we consider in the future, making payments? I know it's very difficult to, how do you do payments for the sticker itself? But for some people, it might be difficult for them to write the $120 check, but I don't know how you could do that. How do you, because you couldn't cancel the sticker once you've handed it, it would be very difficult to,
Well, right now, we have a per visit, they can get a per visit pass, right?
Per trip. Mhm.
I mean, because that's what we explained to people in Barnstable. It's the same thing as like, okay, right now, it's November, and it's 6 more weeks before the end of the year, and people want to come in and get a sticker, like a mid-year sticker, and you go, hey, you're better off just coming in and paying $7 per visit. You know what I mean, or whatever.
oh, I agree. I'm just saying
But I
that
mean,
if,
but I mean, because I know what you're saying, but, with the low-income sticker, the biggest thing is that $100 and some odd hit with somebody on Social Security who's barely paying their taxes and is living week to week to week, coming up with that $107, $130 or whatever. $70 is a lot less of a whack to them, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I think you have an answer for that.
what's that?
I think I have an answer for that.
Go ahead.
I don't know if the town, does the town accept credit cards right now for the transfer station?
I don't know that we have a credit card machine.
Online, they can pay.
Oh, online.
Online, but you are assessed the fee. The town does not cover the credit card fee. So in addition to the $119 sticker, you're paying whatever your credit card fee is, whether it's I think it's
6% or whatever the
a
heck it
percentage
is.
of the transaction.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why we wanted to include the camera at the shack is because of the cash exchange there. And we can't eliminate that by just saying, keep the sticker office open and let everybody get their stickers here, because you could get a daily on a Saturday or a Sunday at the transfer station, and obviously, town hall is not open.
Right.
So they can pay for a one-day visit at the shack?
Yes, they can,
On a weekend.
on a
right,
weekend.
Right.
And we had to keep
Yeah.
that, for
And
the
what's the-
convenience of the people.
What's the fee?
$10 for 5 bags.
So that wouldn't equal out or balance out for somebody who couldn't afford a ticket.
No.
A sticker to pay by the week.
No, that'd be $500, right.
Right.
So, but I can't imagine that it'd be manageable to give people a payment plan either.
No,
more
it's
to
too,
leave.
it'd be, I don't know how,
Very
just,
cumbersome.
because it's, you know, it's 120 now, you know, it'd be 130, 140, 150, as it keeps going up, it's only gonna get hotter. It's not gonna get any less expensive, more than likely it'll be more expensive. And I'm not suggesting these people had to be, it may be just a week-to-week paycheck, you know, living week to week, they're not having financial difficulties, money's just not, they live in a budget.
Right. The only idea would be, and I don't know if this is even legal, would be to add it to your tax bill, but I don't know legal if the town can add.
I'd love it, then I could write it off.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if that's allowed.
If it's on my tax bill.
Because, you know, the other alternative is that, for people is just to say you can go to curbside. You know, they can go to private hauler.
It's more money.
I know, but
Oh, in a week.
private haulers, you know, they can call them up and say, could you pick up my trash? I'll have a check for you, and once a month, once every 2 months, you know what I mean? The haulers will pick up whenever you want them to, so.
No.
If somebody really wants to do something like that, I think that would be, that's the other alternative.
Yeah.
It's a lot more money, but.
Lots of questions, not a lot of answers on this one there, but.
So I have several things,
Sure.
but do you want this in the form of a motion, or
No,
am I just throwing
no.
it out there for
Yeah.
you? Okay,
You know,
I'll just go down my list.
that sounds good to me.
All right, this comes out of the survey that we did a couple months ago. And I would like to recommend to the selectmen that the Department of Public Works be directed to set up a swap exchange area at the transfer station on an ongoing basis for residents to exchange gently used goods. And only those residents with a transfer sticker, may participate. That's my first one. That was hit several times in the survey, and I
They like that idea.
like that idea. Notice I didn't work out the logistics.
Well, and I guess if we're gonna have a discussion on this.
Sure.
It has come up over the years. We encourage people to, you know, visit the local thrift shops. There's one at the senior center, there's one that Christ the King runs on Route 28 in Marston's Mills. What other towns who have swap shops have experienced is you need to staff it. Unfortunately, people use it as an opportunity to try to dispose of items that they might otherwise have to pay for.
Right.
And they've actually had, you know, the people that, you know, either sell things on eBay or whatever they do, you know, there have been fights over items that people have dropped off. So it's not as simple as, let's do it.
As it sounds.
There is.
But I want to put it out there,
Some
'cause that was in-
discussion
Right.
about how it would potentially operate. You'd have to, you know, really spell out what could or could not be left for the swap shop. And again, you know, experiences, you need to staff it while it's open.
Right. You're right. We've all seen people, oh, this is nice. You
Right.
look at it, well, who's gonna take that? It's an old box spring mattress. No.
Right?
I don't think you would, yeah, it would make them pay for that. but-
Yeah.
I echo Catherine, it's a nightmare.
Is it?
It's a nightmare.
Do you have, was it at Barnstable?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And did you have someone staff it?
I personally closed it 3 times, and I personally had my head handed to me, but by the town.
So anyway.
By the town manager and the counselors.
They finally closed it on hazardous waste days. That was so
No, we had people going around bragging to all their friends down at the corner store saying, look at the dress I got at the swap shop, it's $70, and I turned it into wherever, I got my $70 back. You know, and people are just, you know, people are bringing like nice stuff in, right? And you got the guy over here, he's saving aluminum, copper, and brass, you know, and then we said no electronics, because people are trying to drop off AC units, and they're trying to drop off,
Computers.
oh,
Yeah,
believe me.
sounds like it sounds like pretty
Because people
difficult.
say, if they're gonna drop it off there, why am I paying for it? Well,
Nice thought, but
One of the
probably
things.
not gonna happen.
All right, well, it's out
Yeah,
there.
good idea.
I put it out, it was in the survey, I liked it, so I put it out. The other one is,
It's a nightmare,
Nightmare.
and you gotta have a really good staff there that's got a thick skin and be ready for costs, because you're gonna end up, once a week at least, a few buckets in the front end loader of just junk, because people got rid of their junk,
Right.
you know, and nobody wants it, and then now we're paying for that, because it's gotta
Right.
go in the trailer, or it's gotta go in the C and D.
Furniture or whatever, right, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
not a good idea.
All right, well, another one here. Some of these won't be popular, by the way, some of you, so, sorry. Would recommend that the Board of Selectmen give anyone over the age of 75 a 10% discount on the sticker. That's just, it's not low income, but age 75. I've talked to elderly people in the last couple of weeks about that, and I think people, not everyone's got $1 million home and lives big on the Cape. A lot of town folks struggle. And for older folks that are on a fixed income, and there are those people on a fixed income in this town, this would help them. So, just putting that out there.
Something we can consider.
I would just say, again, I think what that recommendation does is gotta be linked to the other recommendation as far as your income-based criteria, whatever that may be. Because to do one without the other, I'm not so sure that you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. And I agree that there are some folks that would certainly need that kind of assistance that are over 75, but then there are others
Oh, yeah, you're right.
who don't fall into that category
Correct.
just based on age.
Correct.
Could it fall within the construct of how senior citizens are able to do volunteer work and then get a tax abatement? So there's like the rule of reciprocity falls in where they're not getting something for free, they're giving back, so it's a two-way street. I think that might be something that's
More
considered.
reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, that way they're being part of the community of Mashpee, but they're also getting a
Right.
benefit by being in the community of Mashpee. I would completely
That's a good,
support that.
yeah,
We're actually working on that
That's something
policy
to-
for the board.
something to think about.
There's lots
Funny.
of things, you know, when I volunteered at elections, it's almost entirely staffed,
You know,
besides Glenn.
Yeah, I'm not getting paid.
By senior citizens, and it's a
True.
joy, you know, and they're showing up and they're working an 8-hour day.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea, I like that. Um,
Glenn, you have 20 more years to go before you'd be qualified,
That's
so.
right.
He still
Well, that's-
shows up to volunteer at the elections, though.
I was,
Probably
tr-
doesn't have a choice.
That's right.
I was looking, I thought we had the numbers on this survey, the age, and we know that we have a aging population in the town, and I think we were all, most everybody was beyond between 50 and 60. I was looking for a quick math, and I didn't see it. But I mean, if we gave everybody over 75 and all the adjustments, I don't know who's there'll be a handful of us paying full price. We'll be paying $250. So at some
$5.50.
point, yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. Okay, another thing I had in mind,
15%,
Fif- is above.
about 15% is over 75.
so, my other thought was, to recommend to the Board of Selectmen, for anyone who is intending to recycle, that they be given a recycling sticker only for recycling purposes. No charge.
And require it, Greg?
Require it,
Right.
yes, to go into the gate. Because, you know, I thought about this a lot and talked to some other folks too about, I think it might deter people from going in recycling if they have to pay for that little recycling sticker. I just don't think I think you need to know if they're recycling. Someone needs to identify that car, and if it's a recycling car or a dump sticker car.
But it's hitched to being a resident.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to
Yes,
make sure.
yes.
Right, and I have no problem with this, but we had also discussed the possibility of becoming an enterprise system, bringing that forward. And that would not work. You can't give them a free sticker, because everybody who goes through the gates would have to pay a fee, just for the operation of the transfer station.
I think until the town went to enterprise, I would support that idea. I think it would help the operation to have those vehicles identified.
Identifiable.
Right.
I agree. You never unless you know that they're from Mashpee, and if there's no identifying sticker,
I
Right.
wholeheartedly endorse But again, I would just make sure that that criteria is you gotta be a resident in
Oh,
order to
absolutely.
get the sticker.
You gotta come into this office and get that sticker and show your paperwork like anyone else does. You
But
just
no
can't
charge.
drive in, but no
Yep.
charge, right.
I agree.
Unless the town went to an enterprise fund.
Exactly.
Right, then you have to rethink that. But in the short term, it's a way to identify those people, so that in case someone is sneaking into the garage to dump something, you can say, you need to not do that, so.
I like it.
Yeah.
Right,
so-
that's good. And we have, I don't know, Rod, you may have seen the sticker that's already been designed.
Yes, from
The
Deb.
recycling, it's from Deb.
I
Oh,
think it
yeah.
was from Deb.
Deb, I try to forward it, it was on my email on my, and I couldn't pull it up to print it and bring it in. But it's very nice, and it's easily identified as a recycling sticker, Town of Mashpee recycling sticker. So, very nicely done, it'll work fine. So if it's a free sticker, so be it, or minimal, but minimal charge, just for the cost, and,
Yeah, but if you go to an enterprise fund, you can change that and work with that if you
Yeah.
need to, but at least in the short term, it identifies those people.
without a doubt,
So.
I think it's a good idea.
It makes it easier for the attendants in the transfer station to identify,
Correct.
because if somebody doesn't have a sticker, that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't pay for the, a lot of times they're not gonna go up to that car, because, well, he might have paid at the gate already, I'm not gonna go over there and bother him, you know what I mean, or whatever.
right.
But if he sees a sticker,
Well,
if he doesn't see a sticker.
If he doesn't, right,
Guys going over there, okay, well, you shouldn't even be in here anyways.
right, anybody, that'd be fine, any car, any vehicle goes through the gate should have a sticker on it, recycling or,
Except if they have a single trip pass, but
Right,
right,
we could come up with like a two-part pass that they would have something that they could show the attendant. Half is given to the gate and they keep the other half.
Just two more.
good.
These are,
well, your time's up. 53 minutes.
We did say 3 minutes, yeah.
it's only rarely 6:30. Okay, I've been on this committee now since January, like everyone says. I've sat through the meetings, I've looked at the paperwork, I've seen the survey, and I really feel like there needs to be only limited change to our transfer station. I got terms in here when people talk about our transfer station, great, the best, easy to use. They're satisfied with it in every way, shape, form, or fashion. And that's a positive thing for our town. So I would recommend that other than the 5-bag limit per trip that we put in and the new recycling sticker, if we give that to people, that we keep things the way they are and review it again in 5 years.
I second that.
That's just a conversation piece, buddy, not a motion.
But that's good, it's nice to have positive reinforcement
thank you.
on your thought.
Understanding that no change in the operation doesn't mean that the prices of the permits, the
Right.
bulky waste, that those aren't necessarily
Oh,
going to increase over the 5
Correct,
years.
and obviously there's gonna be change, there might be change in the sticker price.
Right.
Somewhat, but not with,
Right.
not with the overall.
Operation.
Correct.
Not the cost.
Correct.
Right. But, and the item, per item pieces that are brought in, I think that's pretty much market-driven, isn't it?
It
The
is.
electronic devices, the
Right.
mattress sizes, I know they've been a problem.
We don't try to make money on it, we just try to cover the town's costs.
Right. Well, I'm not saying we shouldn't make some money. I mean, there should be there is an operational cost for the transfer station. And just to have that service available, I don't see why the town shouldn't be allowed to make a small profit on that. Not a profit, an operational cost.
Right,
It's not a
right.
profit.
I think that's reasonable.
I do too.
For sure. And who knows what's gonna happen? I mean, I think, everyone's gonna keep looking at this, the selectmen are gonna look at an enterprise fund possibly.
Right.
I think that's a good idea, to move in a positive direction. But that's, for the short term, that's right, and of course, they could revisit anytime they want to. But, 5-year period, you're gonna have little bit of a different demographic, change of attitude, change of thoughts, and who knows where things will be in 5
Exactly.
years.
I would agree.
So that's that one. And lastly, but not least, that if the selectmen still feel like they need a pay-as-you-throw system or a dual system, that proposal be submitted to town residents for a vote of a binding approval.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'd agree
So
with
that's
I would agree
my-
with that also.
My comments,
Right.
so.
Right, with the, with the exception of tweaking the system, I think that the selectmen should be allowed to do that, but if there's a complete change of system, it should go for a binding vote to the residents, no question, no question.
Thank you for listening to me.
But that doesn't mean a decision to go to an enterprise fund. That means change in the operation, collection.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking changing.
Enterprise would be solely a decision by the Board of
So
Selectmen.
that does need our town meeting approval anyway, I think.
Right, I
But-
think it would, right.
But that's reasonable. I think if you build that in over time, do it by pieces, I think that might be, I like the enterprise system.
Right. Well, there's been a major concern of a lot of the residents, is that they're not happy with the, any of the general fund dollars going to offset the cost of the sick. So, I mean, if this can work, if it's workable, it's doable without too much of a cost, I don't see the problem. And I think it's doable.
I believe when they did that with rec, and there's another enterprise account in town, isn't there?
Kids Club.
Yes.
Yes.
The kids know, right?
That was just done with a selectman's vote, I believe. I don't think it was even a town meeting vote or anything like that, so.
I
Well,
think it
it's something to look
needs-
into. If it happens, we'd certainly,
Or change, no, it might have had to be a town meeting vote, I think, or whatever.
we certainly would.
For change in funding, whatever like that, but I mean, basically, I mean, it's a bonus to the taxpayers, because if you don't use the transfer station, you're not paying for it.
Right.
It's not coming out of your tax dollars, and the big thing is, with an enterprise account, what, selectmen and town administrators and the finance love is that you can charge a fee to those enterprise accounts, and put money back into the general fund, for basically what they call services rendered.
Sure.
When I was out of Barnstable, we were paying over $300,000 into the general fund, just so they could cut our check, and for my boss to keep an eye on me.
Administrative costs, sure.
And
Yeah.
and everything else. I mean, and that's, that's one of the reasons why our stickers were where they were, because for the last 3 or 4 years I was out there, the only increases, there was no increases in any fees other than enterprise accounts. And that was airport, sewer, and transfer station, and everything else. And they were whacking us 50 grand a year.
Wow,
Me, 50 grand a year.
wow.
Increase. Okay, I'm gonna have to raise my stickers or do something here, because
Well-
it's a private company, it's like running a private company.
Well, I hope that we're going the opposite way, right? I don't know how that's gonna work.
I'm just saying, because it is a good thing, because because it's basically gotta be approved and everything else like that, but I mean, there's a formula that the state allows, because you just can't just come up with a,
Oh,
with a
administrative
number.
costing, no
Because
question.
the state, when the state looks at the books, they can say that's a burden, that's another tax, but if it's just fees for HR, for all the services that they,
Yep,
that they, the overseeing of that operation, that's justified, and it's a good thing, because now, if those agencies need money, it's easier to appropriate or whatever, so, it is a good thing all the way around,
yep.
you know?
And it appears to be doable. Catherine would know better than I, but I don't think we're that far off. I really don't. Calliope?
We just approved, the Board of Health approved the minutes of October 15th, the other night on Thursday, and there were recommendations in that, so I submit that. That's a document of official document of record for the town, so that's already submitted in writing. And that is a lot more education. The board talked about how you could go into the transfer station and basically not encounter anybody that would either be helpful or in regulatory enforcement. And I think all of us, anyone here who goes to the transfer station could back that. I was behind a guy yesterday that was, on Saturday, that was just throwing away tons of cardboard. There was 3 guys behind the screen, and they just don't have an investment in reducing that commodity item out of the waste stream. So we talked a lot about education and like how we could, increasing education across the constituency and at the transfer station. I think I spoke about this in the beginning of these meetings, where I took a little visit up to Franklin County, and I went to a one-horse transfer station. There was one person there, and they had pay-as-you-throw, and she was doing like mini lessons with people, teachable moments, not a teachable minute, a moment. Like you know, that cardboard is a commodity item. It's recyclable. You can get rid of it over there. It was not like telling people what to do, which you know, obviously gets their back up, that kind of thing. And when I look at our transfer station, I don't really see that. You know, I enjoy going there. I go there a lot, and I think it's well run. But there's something lacking there, and the Board of Health agreed that there was, you know, a real lack of involvement of the people that were working there. So we talked about education at the transfer station. We talked about education with the townspeople, like how we can, a little bit like what we're talking about in this meeting, like how we can really let people know that they can reduce their trash load by up to 85% if they merely follow the law and also do the right thing. We talked about small government, like how we could reduce costs at the transfer station and across the town. The Board of Health agreed that pay-as-you-throw is the way to do that, to make the most egalitarian, so equal for everyone regardless of your income or your status or what have you. You can throw away as much trash as you want to, you just have to pay for it. You can throw away as little trash as you want to, you just have to pay for it. And it underscores the state waste ban of 1992 to not throw away the glass, metals, and plastics, and increases the commodity items. So the Board of Health recommended that, pay-as-you-throw, education, an enterprise fund, which I think we all seem to be interested in at least discussing, so that it's you know, a closed revolving account for that. And they did not agree on cameras. Did not think that was going to, when you looked at the mission, the 3 goals of this committee that we all agreed and voted on, that the cameras would really make a visible impact when in the context of those goals. That being said, again, when I was at the transfer station, not on Saturday, but I was there on Sunday, it's such a fun time, and I go a lot. There was a guy with just, I took a picture of him, I was like, I'm not leaving. And his truck was filled with trash, you know, and he was a lot more than 5 bags. You know, I never noticed that before. I kind of just do my own thing. I have my own tunnel vision when I go in there, and you know, I saw infractions all over the place, and I was thinking that that's part of the education component, is letting people know that it's for residential trash only, and really enforcing that, and when it comes, really involving somehow, I don't know if it's through professional development or what have you, for the guys at the transfer station, so that they can really feel empowered to do these teachable moments with people and really engage people and let them know that residential trash only, you know, the recycling is encouraged, it reduces the trash load, and anybody that wants small government, you know, knows that if you throw away, you know, 100% of what you consume, that it's not doing the town any good. So we talked about how to reduce that trash load. Of course, 85% is a magic number. That's if you're, you know, a real purebred recycler, but you know, most people get at 60% if they're really trying hard, and that would be great to reduce our solid waste load. And paying for that, you know, all of us paying for that. So those 4 recommendations are in the minutes of October 15th, 2015, as approved by the Board of Health.
Thank you.
I'd agree with education. I don't know. I thought the recycling committee did have an educational program once, but it's been a long time, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody from the recycling committee down there.
They did a few years ago, over a couple week span, took turns, and you know, were at the gate for a couple of hours. Some people, as you can imagine, were receptive. Others didn't want anything to do with it. So it's difficult putting volunteers in that position at the transfer station to be, you know, talking to people, because you don't want them to get into a confrontation.
I think that there's a way that people treat people that work at transfer stations, and I've gone to all of them, all of the Cape for the last decade, that they wouldn't speak to a teacher or a police officer or a clerk in town hall the way that people talk to, and talk is a loose interpretation of the word that I'm thinking of, to transfer station employees. I would be hard pressed to put volunteers there. I think that would be real dicey 'Cause I've never heard people speak to other people the way the general public speaks to transfer station employees. I would never, ever talk to any other town employee that way.
But to that point, it would only make sense to avoid that conflict and that confrontation by going back to the video and getting the plate and turning it over to the proper authorities to follow up and take the appropriate action, so you avoid all of that.
Yeah, I think that there's also a way that you can engage people that's empowering as opposed to, like regulatory enforcement, like if, the guy that was in front of me that was throwing away all the cardboard, I don't know how the guys behind the glass, and there were 3 of them, could have engaged him to let him know that, hey, the town can make money on that, and when you throw it away, it costs the town money. There's a way, that somebody can talk to somebody else to let them know that there's a better way to manage trash, and I don't know that it's a videotape going back to the police department, no offense, but I just don't know if that's the right venue. It's almost like being a teacher, and, those guys that work at the transfer station, obviously, that we're not gonna require that they get their, master's degree in teaching, but there's a way to engage people, and I've seen it. Dennis transfer station is a really good example of the people that work there really engaging and teach many moments of saying, hey,
So you do know how to do it. You've seen it in action in Dennis, so
I've
you...
seen it done in Franklin County, but and I don't know how Chad, who's the transfer station manager in Dennis, I don't know how he trains his staff to do that. I've never talked to him about that, but, or in Franklin County, that small one-horse town that I went to. But it really seems like people were receptive, and maybe it's just because they're living in Happy Valley, not, Cape Cod, but they seem to be...
Cape Cod's a pretty happy place. I mean, it's not a bad place to live. So,
I live here, I choose it. But people don't always like to, there's not a good model, I'm saying, of how to engage people. But I've seen it done, and it seems to be something that perhaps we need.
Well,
Every single time I go there, I see people throwing away stuff that the town could make money on. Or even like, when you're talking about reduced incomes, people say, well, it costs whatever, $10 to get rid of a TV, but if somebody said, well, look, you can go to Best Buy and get rid of it for free. Or I have a computer monitor, it's gonna cost $10 to get rid of. Hey, bring it to Staples, they'll take it for free. And there's a balance between the town making money and, there's also with people trying to get by, knowing that $10 is gas or what have you. And so having someone that really is knowledgeable about the intricacies of the whole system and imparting that in a way that's genuine and reasonable. I don't know if it's, I don't feel like it's cameras in the police department, but maybe it is for now, I don't know.
Well, I think it all depends on the individual, it depends upon the circumstances, and it depends upon the reasonableness there too. And I think making a blanket statement, it doesn't necessarily have to always be deferred to the police department for a criminal investigation, but at the same time, somebody needs to understand that there are consequences attached to violating the rules, whether it be a call from a DPW employee, not that I want to necessarily start causing staff time in that situation, but whether it be a simple phone call or whether it be another appropriate action. There are ways in which you got to weigh your checks and balances. Is this staff time worth the end result, et cetera, et cetera? But I guess the point that I'm trying to drive home is we got to keep our options open, and I think, again, not to beat a dead horse as far as the cameras go, but it isn't just as simple as what the committee was trying to achieve for an objective. It kind of parlayed into it, but there's also the auditors who would prefer anybody that's handling cash have cameras. Now, I understand that's not an objective of this committee. I get that, and I completely agree.
It's transparency, and I think that's kind of what, across the board, we're all trying to achieve. What it is that you're throwing away, what it is that you're paying for it. I love the idea of having something like Square or something, like where someone can, mattress is gone, $10 off my credit card. That would just be great instead of that whole cash thing. But so on 2 different occasions, I encountered 2 different scenarios that could have easily been mitigated. One was the truck full of trash, which honestly I never kept my eye out for, but since you guys brought it up, I'm noticing it left and right. And nobody said anything, you know, is that commercial trash, what have you. And then the cardboard, which I just see all the time, is people throwing cardboard into the hopper, into the roll-off. And nobody behind the, you know, when you go into the Quonset hut, nobody coming out and saying, because there's no investment there. What do they, you know, they're not town employees, no offense to the company, but there's no investment, you know, where.
Right, they don't get paid any more or less for just sitting there or going out.
Right.
It's the same pay.
Maybe perhaps they don't care what the cost of solid waste disposal is. You can make money on something, but you're throwing it away,
Right.
and the town has to pay for it. That gets into an odd disconnect of where your values lay, and that could really be dicey too.
Right. Well, I mean, I have
Recommending
roll-offs.
attaching it to the attendance bonus?
You know, I don't know. You know, if you did see a solid waste load reduction, hey, whatever works, you know. I'm not a corporate manager, but, you know, there's the carrot and there's the stick, and people respond in all different ways. And I've been using that transfer station for 11 years, and it does work fine, you know, until you start really factoring the cost. You know, we've had the sweetheart deal with Cavanta, and the terms are gonna start changing, and I know that things can't always stay the same, and they're not going to. I love going there. I love, you know, that mulch heap that you talk about. You know, I'm a fan of the mulch heap. I haven't used the organics, but I understand if you have a condominium, which 20% of Mashpee has condos, it's a nice option for getting rid of your organics. You know, it's a well-run place, and it's clean, it's nice. I've walked the Cap landfill. It's like Switzerland out back with wildflowers in the summer. It's a nice spot, but, you know, there's some little things that could be tweaked, and I think education is the biggest
Yeah.
component of it.
Education, it's tough, and I was thinking about, as you were saying that, now, the best thing that I could think of for education would be signage. And I know we have new signs there, but to me, they're hard to read. I mean, I don't stop because the letters may be only 3 or 4 inches high, and I really don't see them as I'm driving by. But the recycling area, if we had big signs with block letters, an inch, a foot, cans, bottles, plastics, paper. You know, I know that we all know that, we do, but when someone's driving by, do you think that might mean something if they saw the big signs over by the,
We
you
could try
know,
it.
the
I mean,
roll-offs, the
Right.
compactors?
we-
You know,
we-
cardboard over that one there.
Right.
Even it's just big block letters. There's no question when you drive by it, that's where the cans and the bottles go. That's where the newspaper goes. The cardboard goes at the end.
Right.
But I do have a hard time seeing that sign, and I know it's there, but I'm looking at I stop at the sign, I'm looking at the attendant, make sure he sees me, and I'm in the gate. I don't look at that sign that's right there. It's invisible to me, I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's invisible to me.
Well, that's because it stays the same, and once you've seen it, and maybe you haven't seen it, like you haven't read it, but you've seen it, so you don't look at it anymore. You know, that's what happens with.
I've seen it, but I haven't read it.
Right, but then once you don't read it, and you're kind of doing your own thing, you know, like I've looked at it, and once I read it, I was like, I never looked at it again. I was like, you know, and we have great resources. There's the high school, they have the graphic design, and maybe we could have like the tip of the week, which starts to sound a little bit goofy, but if you look at what we're paying for the cost of disposal of recyclables, it's worth some kind of investment on the back end. Maybe having the kids do like a tip of the week where, you know, they make a little sign, and it goes out front or something like newspaper is a commodity item, metals, state waste ban, or whatever, just to kind of raise awareness 1 week at a time.
I think everybody knows that, everybody's pretty aware that recyclables, but papers, and that's, if they see the signs, it's gonna come back to them. The signs won't be invisible if they're big signs, clearly everyone will say, oh, yeah.
I'm willing to try it. I'm probably the cynic, just
It's-
because I've been involved for too many years, but, I think it's obvious that that's the recycling area.
great
when you see
educational
people
tool.
carrying their blue bins, but if you think that might make a few people notice it and change their behavior, then it's,
Well, that way, if you're in the shed and someone's unloading a truck full of cardboard, you say, didn't you see that big sign down there that said cardboard?
Cardboard with dollar signs next to it. It
Right.
makes money over there.
An arrow pointing into the roll-up.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that would be-
Big neon arrow
But
right
there's
there.
there's an
Put your
easy one.
newspapers here, you're on candid camera.
Wow.
You mean like the signs in Barnstable, the big yellow fluorescent reflective signs that didn't do any good
For what?
in Barnstable? Just direction signs.
Oh,
And what you can do and what you can't do and where to go and what areas. People go,
was a
where's area C? What's that? I've never saw that before. You see that big orange sign right straight ahead of you down there? It's a 5 by 5 foot. And it's a big C, right? And the guy goes, oh, yeah, well, that's the metal pile. That's area C. Oh, okay. Trust me, I'm not trying to make light of what you, but I mean, it's like, you could ask the police, if putting a stop sign 7 foot by 7 foot gonna make that car stop any fast? I don't think so.
Well, unless we're a real, I mean, my background is not in PR. My background is not in marketing, and maybe, other people's are. Maybe, I don't know what, everyone else here went to school for, has been doing professionally, but maybe marketing and PR is not what we're good at, and maybe there needs to be somebody that we employ, and not necessarily using the common term of that word, but we engage people that their background is in marketing, and we can consider recycling as a marketing initiative for the town of Mashpee, and we could not put the onus on Catherine or signs or volunteers at the transfer station, but spend a little money, maybe to save a little money down the road, and ask people who are trained professionals at marketing and PR, like, we want to reduce our solid waste load, we want to increase recycling, we know that's the best way to do it. Tell us how to do it, because, I'm a trained teacher, I'm not a trained PR marketer, Glenn is this, you're that, I don't know, that might be the solution, that way we're not inventing a wheel, perhaps that somebody else has already invented, where, we spend like a petite amount of money, and we're saving a lot of money in the solid waste, cost down the road for the next whatever decades.
What kind of language do we have right now as far as when you fill out the form to get a sticker? Is there any language that says that did they have to sign it?
I have no
No,
idea.
but you get that handout sheet that Catherine's come up with.
Okay, the
The
reason why.
application itself, do you
No, but
sign
they hand out,
saying,
yeah.
saying that
The
I
reason-
understand the terms, that this is strictly household, not commercial waste from my household? I don't think so. I think they just,
One of the things that I had to do it in Barnstable, it was something that I took as an initiative, because I had concerns, just like you're saying, and that I had a lot of people going, why wasn't I aware of the rules and regulations? Well, the next year, when they came in, it was just it's a really cheap form, okay, that the people had to fill out their information, and they had to sign it, stating that I will abide by the rules and regulations of the Barnstable Transfer Station, and when they get the sticker, they were handed a copy of the rules and regulations. It was up to them. Some people just threw it back on the pile. It's up to you. If you don't, but, by signing that, because if you do not abide by the rules and regulations, your privileges will be revoked for using this facility. And I had to put it through legal, and it all went good and everything else like that. And a lot of people were getting upset because when they came in the next year to get their sticker, you can't get a sticker. What do you mean? Because on this date, you came in and you told my guy at the gate to go where to go. And you went through that AC and you drove away. And every time they came back in, they tried to get you, you told them where to go.
Wow.
So he came in, I said, you're not getting a sticker. He went down, he raised holy hell down to the town councilors. And one of the councilors called me. I said, well, you know something? You need to bring it up with my boss and the town manager, because I was backed on this. He didn't get a sticker for a year.
Wow.
Well, the town's
And he
not
was really
obligated-
ticked off because he had to pay $400 some odd for pickup.
Yeah, the town's not
Okay,
obligated
but I mean, it was something that, that was pretty severe, and a lot of times people would come in and go, listen, okay, the guy down there caught me, I messed up, I made a mistake, I apologize. Okay, good, this is, that's all I want to hear,
Yep.
or whatever. And I also had people guys Because what I did with my guys is I gave them a pad of paper and a pencil and a pen. And I said, if you see a problem, you see somebody illegal dumping or whatever like that, you go over there, try to talk to him. If he flies off the handle, walk away. If you can get a sticker number, get it. If not, write down his plate number. Because we got it right on the database, we can pull it up. Okay, he's got sticker number such and such. When he comes in to get a sticker, you can't get a sticker. You gotta speak to the supervisor. He had to come in, and I explained the rules and regulation to him. And I told him, I said, you know something? You're on probation now. Any violation, you're not getting a sticker for a year. And a lot of that went away because there was an enforcement, you know? And a lot of times it's the same people, you know, over and over and over. Just gonna just say the hell with the rules and regulations. And some people are gonna say, listen, you know, like some people come in and say, listen, I had a really bad day. You know, I shouldn't have said what I said to the guy. I apologize and everything. You know, I said, well, when you leave here, go down there and apologize to him. We're good. Okay, good. You can get your sticker or whatever. But, I mean, that might be the extreme. But I think by having that form and saying now everybody who has a sticker, you can't say that you don't know the rules and regulations, and have the rules and regulations spelled out there. That you know, disposing of these items is illegal. You know, this is what the cost is for this, and this, and this, you know what I mean? And everything. And this is what we offer. You got free, we offer free composting in the fall, or we offer this. You know what I mean? You spell out the operation of the transfer stations to the people, as well as the rules and regulations, you know? Now, if somebody wants to come in and they just want to say the heck with it, you've got something that says, listen, you signed a saying that you were aware of it, why did you do it?
Right.
You
So
know?
it comes down to enforcement, which goes back
Right.
to, you know, whoever's sitting in the booth or whatever, you know, I don't mean the guard shack, but in the shed itself, or eyes on everything in the transfer, I mean, who's gonna step up?
Well, I guess
But
when
a lot
we're
of that,
talking about
it's like what Rodney was saying with the
enforcement,
camera. I mean, if they, you know, if the guys, even if they don't want to say nothing, write the plate number. This is the date, put down the date, the time, the plate number, what happened, what the person did, you know?
and we do that. So,
Right.
I mean, but I guess when we're talking about enforcement and violations, we don't have a waistband. Yes, the state has a waistband, but in Mashpee, we don't say you can't throw out your cardboard. Are you asking that we enforce the state waistband, and that if someone is throwing out recyclables, that's a violation that will potentially cause their sticker to be revoked?
I thought years ago that Mashpee with the DEP regulation, that with the Board of Health, we made that a you know, we made it so private haulers have to offer recycling services. But we also with the statewide DEP waistband. I thought that was regulation.
We have the waistband, it's posted at the transfer station.
No, but I mean, the Board of Health, when I was in the
But-
Board of Health, I
but
thought
we-
that was,
But if we see someone throwing cardboard in the trash, we can go and speak to them. I've spoken to people, but I don't write down their sticker and say, you're not gonna get your sticker next year if we see you do it again. If that's what the committee and the Board of Selectmen would like us to do, then I guess that's the question. What are you asking us to enforce? If someone doesn't pay for a TV and they dump it, you know, in the universal waste shed, and we catch them, then yes, they are given a letter and, you know, are charged the fee and are told that, you know, if you do it again, your sticker may be revoked.
Right.
That's what we enforce. We don't enforce people throwing out their general recyclables.
I think there should be a recommendation included that enables DPW to have some flexibility in terms of administrative action for the purposes of enforcing the rules on a reasonable basis, whether it be, like was just mentioned, suspending a permit for X amount of days or weeks or months versus you're on some type of probation, whatever you want to call it, that puts them in a classification that if they're messing up multiple times, they run the risk of losing the permit.
Yeah.
Catherine, for clarification, both Glenn and I think that the Board of Health already adopted the state waste ban, but do we need to specifically, does the town can't just follow the state rules and enforce the state rules, do we have to also adopt it?
Are you, I guess,
The state waste ban.
the town is required to comply with the state waste ban. Are you asking that we enforce that waste ban on everyone using the transfer station? So if we see someone
Okay, I see
throwing
what you're
cardboard in the trash, what do you want us to do in that situation?
That's-
How does the town
That-
follow the state
that
waste
is-
ban if people are throwing away state waste ban items? Like if somebody's throwing away cardboard and the town becomes the responsible for that solid waste, and that potentially could get inspected by DEP for visible recyclables in the tipping, how does that work?
That's an area that, in Barnstable, we never went, because you're walking down a slippery slope when you do that. You're getting into somebody's face and telling them what they can throw away and what they can't throw away. If it's a chargeable, if it's a chargeable item, like you were saying, definitely. If they're violating the rules and regulations by throwing metal and a lot of stuff in the guy can go over and say, listen, sir, I just want to explain something to you. It doesn't go in there. There's a ban on that, you know what I mean, or whatever. If the person say, go to hell, all right, fine, okay, but take the plate number down or whatever like that. Maybe buzz off a letter or whatever like that. Say, listen, this is a reminder that there is a waste ban. But I mean, to go up to a person and say, you can't throw that cardboard in there. I know, I would never want to do it, because you never want to get in the way of a man's trash, because boy, I tell you,
That goes back to.
you know what I mean? I would much rather,
It's an educational opportunity,
Right.
but it's not worth getting into confrontation over. For someone throwing a box or two in,
Over there, it's with the town makes money off of it, not like.
Right, you can
can't
explain it to
throw
'em.
You can't throw it in the roll-off.
Well-
But you could bring it over there and the town.
well, that's what I mean,
sell it.
it's an educational opportunity. You can't tell him he can't, because he's gonna, and he's gonna walk away.
We're going to be told what to do.
Exactly. So, but you can tell him, gee, the town makes money off of it if you put it down there.
it's like the town that had pays you throw them in, and they had clear bags. That didn't go over very good either.
No, it's not.
I agree with the educational approach, but if being Mr. Nice Guy is not working well, and there are no consequences to violating the rules, what's the sense of having the rules? So I just think, without trying to sound unreasonable, you gotta attach consequences to the rules, maybe after you take the educational Mr. Nice Guy approach. And I don't know how many of these situations they're dealing with on a daily basis. Maybe it's not enough to worry about. But it's like human behavior, you define the parameters, and when you expand the parameters, they're gonna take more and more and more. When you shrink the parameters, then they're gonna say, well, you know what, maybe I better conform to the rules.
Right, and that would bring back the cameras in the sheds, because that's where I think you'd see most of this violations occur. That's where you're gonna see the cardboards coming out of the back of the trunk and going into the roll-off. So, I mean, if you're looking to enforce, that's where you're gonna get the most enforcement action, I believe, in the shed itself.
But you said, if I understood you correctly, that if someone witnesses a violation, they write it down, they can contact your office, and you guys will send a letter, a fine, whatever it takes, right?
Yes.
So you are enforcing.
We're not enforcing if that's, I'm trying to think of examples. Like I said, someone is seen throwing, a TV which has a fee associated with it, somewhere in there, hiding it in the universal waste shed so they don't have to pay the $20 fee. If they catch them, get their plate number, then we will
Yeah,
follow
that's
up on
clear,
that.
right.
We've had people, on days the transfer station is closed, dump their trash outside the gate.
Right.
So we'll go through, we'll find a name, and we'll send them a letter. So that's the enforcement that we do.
Right.
If we observe, or if they observe someone throwing cardboard, hearing a bag get in there and hearing the bottles clink around, That is not reported. We don't, you know, like I said, I know I've personally spoken to people when I've observed that. I will speak to them about doing a better job,
I think you'd probably be
educating.
talking to everybody though, because.
Right,
we have such a low
but
recycling
we
rate.
do not enforce that. We do not send those people a letter and say, if you don't recycle, we're going to revoke your sticker.
Yeah, well, educational, it's an opportunity. I think the cameras will help with education as well, so,
For the
I think,
biggest offenders anyway.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe even letting people know the cost, like, I know when I do the hazardous waste, people are like, oh, why can't I get rid of this for, today, and I'm like, well, it's not hazardous, and it costs the town 10 times more to dispose of it as a hazmat than as a solid waste, and then they're like, oh, well, I didn't know that, you know, and so maybe letting people know that if they throw away recyclables, what's the cost of solid waste disposal, what's the cost of recycling, and just kind of like, again, transparency and communication, like letting people know that there are consequences to their action. It might not be felt directly in their pocketbook, but it's being felt by the town's pocketbook. You know, like letting, you know, we dispose of X amount of tons of solid waste and it costs the town, you know, this amount of money. Like that kind of thing, just like really keeping people as part of the loop and raising awareness. And having them have some kind of investment in what they're throwing away, because right now, there's no, it's just, you know, you can throw away whatever you want, and people obviously do. I think there's myriad ways that we can go about raising the level of awareness about what's recyclable and what's not in the town. I don't know that we're qualified entirely to do that, but, you know, that's the point. Not like that those guys behind the glass have to come out every time they hear a clinkety clink, because, like, you know, they're gonna go out there, they're just gonna never go back into that little, you know, office. They're just gonna always be out there. And it's gonna be, you know, hell on wheels for them, because people don't like to be told what to do. So, you know, I think if it's visible and it's a cardboard and it's a commodity item, they can gently say, hey, you know, the town makes money on that, but then also letting people know the recycling initiative or something.
Well, I agree, you know, and you made a great point, Calliope, that you need somebody that knows something about education to get the message across. You also need somebody that knows how to put it together so it makes it easy, a marketing person. And I think that, you know, to Tom's point, the signage or something, I know, Glenn, you're a little cynical about that because people can't connect the dots, but I think we can do more, pretty simply, to get people to properly utilize the single stream system, because it couldn't be easier, but I don't think people see it. So if we developed something to get back into the schools, have the schools help us, have the kids bring things home a little more frequently perhaps, so that parents, because you've got new blood year after year after year as kids enter the school, and you've got young families who are certainly much more convincible that this is the way that it's done, if they see that that's the way it's done, and you're just gonna build a culture of cheating less, of hiding everything in a black bag, shoving it over the thing, and beating feet out of the transfer building, which I think is the case that we're seeing. And, you know, you're right, you can't go chasing the people. You can hear those bottles all the time. You just go, you could be in that building with 5 cars, 3 in the building and 2 over in the other side, and you hear the bags going, and it's just, but there is a way. We also have Mashpee TV. So, and we've got some graphic people at the high school. We've got great resources that could be utilized, and you can put anything that, I mean, that's what the town is supporting over there at Mashpee TV, is good stuff. And if you let people know, if using the internet, some way, shape, or form, the town website, Mashpee TV, the schools, putting putting the graphic stuff that you're continuously using, but distribute more of it, is probably the best we could hope for without really physically getting into people's faces. And I think that that would help us, that the cameras and the bag limit and some changes that we've made, if we come up with, turn this whole thing into a positive and, tell the people that were very loud about the opposition to pay-as-you-throw, okay, you were very vocal, you got your point across, the committee got together, these are the findings, these are what they're hoping to do. You're gonna see some changes, but it's not gonna get your back up. People that want pay-as-you-throw, aren't gonna be all that happy, but at least I think they're gonna see that we've done something positive. We're all in the same boat, we just don't wanna go as far as the pay-as-you-throw, and see how much we make out of it. See if it's pretty easy. The tonnage goes down, the recycling goes up. You're gonna hear people. We're on the radar, and people are gonna make comments about the bag limit. And people aren't gonna fully understand it, but we've gotta educate properly that there is a bag limit, and I'd use every resource. I'd say, that bag limit that's on the side of the building when you drive through, that isn't a bag limit. That was a bag limit for driving through there to keep traffic going. Now that limit is universal throughout the whole thing. And we can leverage all of that stuff and get more stuff out and carry this thing forward for another couple of years. And if then we have contractual things and our tipping rate goes up, and it's going to affect people that are paying for dump stickers and weighing other things, then at least we've kept the issue up in the front of the townspeople and can say, if that's too much, then guess what, now the only direction we can go, unless they come up with a more effective way than pay-as-you-throw, but, there could be another round of that, where all of a sudden, it is the only way to go.
That could be. Wayne, go ahead, you wanted to add?
Yeah, first, I think that was very well said, by the way.
Thank you.
And the other part about the 5 bags is, well, I was also thinking about it. And, if that's also another incentive for people to recycle, because recyclables don't count.
Correct.
If you have a bunch of cardboard in the back of your car, that's not a bag, that's a recyclable. We were talking 5 bags of trash. What was the other? Oh, the other thing too is, by the way, you're not being broadcast tonight on webcast. Like, you're not live streaming right now.
On Channel 18?
No, you're not.
On the computer.
On the computer.
Oh, on
yeah.
the computer.
Well, we may be on Channel 18.
Oh.
Right.
You might be, but you're not. It says live webcast when you get signed.
I guess they've been having problems with that.
Also, our last meeting isn't on the town webpage either.
I asked that tonight. I think it's on YouTube. And I don't know how you get to YouTube, to be honest with you. If you go to YouTube and punch in Town of Mashpee, Mass, I'm not quite sure.
I do it.
Oh, yeah, Greg says yes.
Yeah, it's very tech savvy, Tom.
Thank you.
With the Mashpee TV part, as far as education goes, I'm going like, okay, well, we need to check into that a little more.
We've
It's
actually
got to be
been,
used, Wayne.
yeah, we've actually tried working with Mashpee TV. With the turnover that they've had, we just haven't been able to get anything going.
Yeah.
But I did actually speak with Shane when I was at the high school a couple of weeks ago, and he's working with the video club, AV club, so we're hoping to get some videos working with the students at the high school online.
They're very creative, and it's
Yeah.
as long as we've got the resource,
Right.
Maybe they can
we
do
should try
the,
to put something on it, because events like this and
They can make an app, like a little game. Is that recyclable?
Well, I was just thinking, they could do an on-site visit to the transfer station and walk through and do a camera shot all the way through it, a step by step.
We've talked about it.
The kids
school
will teach
project.
us. High school kids will teach us.
Kind of like taking what Glenn was saying to the, like, we've all taken a conflict of interest, you know, where, like, oh, if someone gives you $50 worth of cookies, can you accept it? Yes, no. I could see something like that with a form, but have it be like a game where you're like, is that recyclable? Is, you know, and like, so people, and then at the end, I've done this recycling test, here's your sticker, and I know that's not gonna happen, but it'd be it'd be about as much fun as a conflict of interest test. But, you know, just.
Think?
I can't take $50 worth of cookies. I do like the idea of what Glenn is talking about like really like putting people's John Hancock on their commitment.
Yeah.
Saying like, that, like, I read this, you know, and I attest to the fact that you know, whether or not they do, they're held accountable, and there's a level of integrity when you sign your name to a document saying, you know, I put my word on this before they get their recycling sticker, because it does make a vast difference to again, to raise the awareness level, and that could be a real simple, you know, person right there, not like, you know, the ladies in the town clerk's office, or the people in town clerk's office having to educate about recycling, but giving them the, you know, that.
We'll have to, right, because I know with the, you know, a lot of the stuff is now, it's all online. So I'm not
Online,
even sure
right.
that we have many paper applications that are
There-
processed.
yeah, it's
I-
more online.
So we'll see if we can do an
Sure,
electronic
and if they
signature.
if they don't hit the accept button, their transaction doesn't go through.
Right, well, that would be right. You could,
Making it
easy to do
game.
online.
Right, right.
Yeah, you could, I'm sure that there's a half a page that you could put in there to promote it, but all those different, there are opportunities to put those elements out there and catch people
Yeah,
in every corner that they use this and.
Yeah,
and
and
it's just some creative
I
mind.
hate the you know, the term catch or punish or whatever. I like to think it was, we're not here to, you know, catch the residents throwing a bottle in the, you know, in the trash or whatever. It's just an educational, it's an educational opportunity, and that's how I see it. And it's to the benefit of the community if we all have a better understanding of how the transfer station work and how recyclables work.
That-
And it'll benefit us all. We'll keep the cost of the transfer station down, and that's what this comes down to. We all participate, we all work together, keep the cost of operation, the cost of disposal down. We recycle, we do our job, and everything works out fine.
Tom, I guess for our next and last meeting, are you expecting that, you know, some of the suggestions that were made tonight, that those are going to be put into the form of a motion for actual vote by
The
this
committee?
committee next month, and then whatever's, I guess, the majority?
I think that would be good if we had the committee make the recommend, you know, vote, and this would be recommended by a majority or whatever, number of votes. We could do a roll call if we want, so yes, no. Move it forward, and at least the Board of Selectmen has the, you know, with the team that sat here for a committee for 8-9 months, you know, I think there's some value to that, and, you know, it's the best you can do. We come up with some recommendations, that's all they are, and it's not turmoil, it's just something that'll help it work in the best interest of the community. So, Catherine, did you have anything to add, or?
The only, and when Tom was speaking, that kind of brought me back to one of Greg's recommendations, and that's the 5-year review on the operation. I don't know if as part of that discussion and vote, it could be that these next 5 years are an opportunity for the transfer station users to voluntarily reduce the trash. And if in 5 years, we're not seeing any significant change in the amount of trash, then that's the point that
Take another look.
that the town, you know, is gonna consider the pay-as-you-throw, or, as, you know, Tom said, there might be another system in 5 years' time, but,
We'll develop another committee.
I think everything should be looked at on a regular basis, right?
Right.
And it gives it some
Thanks,
time
Wayne.
and some history and some measurement, right?
but I guess not that just to look at it, but to say, you know, let's have a measurable goal, that if we don't, in 5 years' time, we haven't seen a reduction in the amount of trash by 30%, or something like that,
Where are we at now, recyclable, we're at 25, 27%, somewhere around there?
I think 23, around there.
Yeah, I was talking with I was concerned about what's happening with ABC, and I called him, we had a discussion about that. He said, you're not bad, you're right with a lot of others, some people are in the 30s, but not a whole lot, he said, you're right with everybody else, you're doing fine. We're not the bad, we're at the bottom.
Is that DEP's?
No, I mean, DEP doesn't calculate the rates anymore, so that's just looking at our own,
Basically what we take in for trash versus what we do for recycling?
right,
Okay.
right.
All right, are we done?
Just a quick question, I mean, everything's counted on that? Yard waste, everything?
I mean, some things we don't have weights, we obviously collect textiles, but we don't get the weights back from those. The redeemable bottles, we don't get any record of that from either of the organizations that redeem those, the VFW or the Boy Scouts.
So that we take a hit on that, because
Because
but those bins are always full.
Because the textiles
redeemable bottles.
should be required to give us, because I know, like, if they don't have scale, like if the transfer station doesn't have a scale, the guys basically know, okay, if this container is full of clothes, it weighs this much. You know what I mean? They can give you, okay, 800 pounds on this pickup, or 500, or, whatever the heck it is. Because most of the
Right,
time,
so,
when
I
you go in
mean,
there, those things are overflowing, which is
Right.
good,
Oh,
but.
yeah.
We
You know.
estimate, and same with the yard waste, we kind of estimate what's collected.
I mean, because that could end up being a lot of tonnage.
Right.
The textiles, and even like the yard waste, that yard waste down back, I mean, that's,
Right, so in other words, with all of that included, we'd be actually doing better.
well, 5 yards equals a ton. And yard waste, once it's broken down. I believe that's the formula, something like that. I was really amazed that was what DEP uses as their formula, and that's what I always used.
Good to know.
Because, in Barnstable, we were doing 7,000 or 8,000 tons a year in leaves.
So rather than going into the roll-off, into the can in a bag,
Right. But I mean, the yard waste, and then when you hand it back out, that's recycling, reusing, whatever, and,
right,
What is
You
done
know.
with that stuff? The yard waste?
but that's considered
We
recycling.
compost it on
That's
site,
That's the composted stuff.
right, so we
But the heavy-
compost it.
The heaviest stuff, wood, solid.
The brush
Yeah.
is actually brought to a facility in Marston's Mills where they chip it there. So that we don't do anything on site other than
So that's
collect
gonna
it.
cost to
It's part of the contract.
transport it?
It's part
to
of our
who?
contract.
We care, or?
Right, they own a facility in Marston's Mills, a yard waste
Stump mill.
facility, right.
Right.
And the bins with clothes and books and things, how often are they emptied?
Well, as if you've been to the transfer station in the last few weeks, not as often as they
Right.
need to. We actually are gonna be switching, I'm gonna be switching the companies that we deal with. Some of the organizations aren't very good about coming and collecting, which is why you see the bags, sitting outside, which then they're exposed to the weather, and we end up having to throw them out as trash. So we're gonna be switching to another company that will be giving us weights. They actually will pay the town based on the weight.
So there's a lot of tonnage too that goes there that we
We'll
would
find
have been
out.
in the roll-off, and
We'll find out.
Bay State Textiles?
Actually, no, it's the same company that does our book collection.
And the town gets money back for that? per
Yes,
ton?
yes.
Oh, that's good to know.
It's 3 cents a pound, so not a lot of money. but
better than getting charged
Don't
for it,
spend it
right?
yet.
I'm not.
That's up.
All right, we all set? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wayne, it's been a pleasure.